In this tutorial, we're going to see how Vanna works. Vanna is an AI SQL agent that is capable of translating natural language questions into SQL queries. This is a perfect tool for teams and companies willing to leverage their business data storing in SQL databases. In this image, you can see how Vanna works. Everything starts with a large language model that is trained with question training data. You will normally use prior SQL queries, also database schemas, also known as DDLs, and you could also use database documentation to train your model so it can get as much information as possible to become familiar with the database. Once the model is ready, you can start asking questions. Every time you write a question in plain English or in natural language, it can be also Spanish or other languages, the question will be added to the training data, so the model gets improving itself automatically. And Vanna will create or will translate your question into a query. Then you could run that query against your database, and Vanna will create a chart with the visualization of the data of your interest. It will also generate a database with the data in pandas format, and also a list with follow-up questions, so you can keep inspecting your database with new questions. Let's see how this works in practice. First thing we have to do is to install Vanna. You can do it classic pip install. We have done this before already, and then we just need to make import Vanna. We normally use the alias vn, so get used to that. Once we have Vanna in our environment, it's time to start using it. To connect with the API of Vanna, we need to get a key to access. We can use the function get API key and write your email. I've done this already, and you will get in your email a key that you can set when you run the set API key. There will be a box, and you just write the password, the key, and you will be ready to use to connect with the API. Next, it's time for choosing the model. You could create your own models, and this is the aim of Vanna. So you have your model, you create the model with this function, you set the name, you set the type of SQL engine you want to use. It could be a Snowflake, it could be Postgres, MySQL, there are several. You can check on the documentation. It's important also to know that Vanna comes with a set of pre-trained demo models for learning purposes. You can use the get model function to check the available models. We're going to use for this tutorial the Chinook database, and to connect with this database we just need to use the set model function, put the name. We'll be already connected with the model that is already pre-trained with data. But if you also want to run these SQL queries against the database, you need to connect with it. We'll do this with the connect to SQLite function, adding this link where the database is hosted. We'll be ready to run queries against the database. Here's an image with the schema of Chinook. This is basically a music store database with information about albums, artists, playlists, invoices, and so on. Next, now that we are already connected with Chinook, we can start inspecting the training data. Let me connect just in case. So this is cool. This is very great of Vanna. You can see at every time the data the model is using for training. You just need to use the get training data function, and you will get a pandas database with several columns, the ID, the type of training data. It can be SQL, it could be schemas or documentation. In this case, the first row shows SQL query, so you have the question and the query, and they make like a kind of a pair. If we see other type of data that is used to train the model, we also see that the model is being trained with the schemas. We can check this, and here there's no questions here, but you will see the typical create table with all the information about the columns that comprise the database. You could also add training data. That is something that we cannot do this because the model is public and we are not allowed to train the model, but just for the sake of clarity, you could use the train function. That is a very cool function that you could include like question and query pairs, you could add the schema or you could add the documentation. It's a very easy and intuitive function. In this case, if we wanted to add a new query, just use the question and SQL parameters. So in this case, if we want to see what are the albums available from the Rolling Stone, you just make the question and also the query that would make the magic. If we run this, we'll have a false because we are not allowed to train the model, but just to let you know. Also, when using these kind of models, the quality and the quantity of training data is key for the accuracy of the model. So in case you have some training data that you don't like, that is biasing the model, you could just simply remove it. For example, let's say we want to remove this line, this training data. So we can just take the ID and use the remove training data, and in this case the data will be removed. If we check now, if that data is in the training data, we see that it's false. So once the model is fine-tuned and everything is ready, it's time for asking questions. So this is straightforward. Just use the ask function. For example, if we want to check what are the top 5 jazz artists by sales, we run the line, and Vanna will throw several things here. First of all, we have the SQL query that is pretty cool. Also, we'll have the database with the information we ask. So in this case, the top 5 jazz artists by sales, and we have here the names of the artists and the total sales. Okay, so this is great. Also, we'll get the visualization. So this could be better, but still it's nice. We have this bar plot with the 5 artists and the total sales, and also we'll get the follow-up questions. So we need to take any of these and make another question, and the process will continue until we stop. In case we want to save each of these information in variables, we need to set the pre-result parameter to false, and we can save every element in variables with this syntax. So when we run this, it will take a bit, but then we can get every other element in different variables. Let's wait for a sec. So for example, SQL, we have the query here. DF, we have the database. Fig, we have the visualization, and follow-up questions. We will throw the list with the different questions. Now with these variables, we could save the documents. For example, the database we could save to a CSV, or also the image in an image format. So this is basically the tutorial. I hope you like it. We are looking forward to see you using Vanna. Goodbye to everyone.